This program is brought to you by SAMCEDA, the San Mateo County Economic Development Association.
Why should you invest the next 20 to 30 minutes of your time in watching? Have you ever wondered about the people and purpose behind various businesses on the peninsula and Silicon Valley? Who works there? Why? What do these companies and organizations really contribute to our communities? If you are even a little bit curious, take a moment and hear their stories and why business is more than the bottom line. For 7 decades, the San Mateo County Economic Development Association, better known as SAMCEDA, has championed the business community by convening and connecting them to the communities in which they make their home. People hear about Genentech and Oracle, but do they know about Design Tech High School and Future Labs? My guess is no. But even if you have, we are going to tell these stories and many more. The stories of your friends and neighbors who work there and how they contribute and collaborate through their employers, with our food banks, our schools, our youth sports teams, our art and cultural groups, our veterans and seniors, how their companies give back and believe in more than the bottom line. On today's show, we'll be featuring Keshia Theobald-van Gent with GSVlabs. Keshia is Director of Strategic Partnerships. Welcome to More Than the Bottom Line. I'm Rosanne Foust, your host for today, and with me is Keshia Theobald-van Gent, the Director of Strategic Partnerships with GSVlabs. Keshia, welcome. We're so glad you're here today, and this is exciting. GSVlabs has been in San Mateo County probably about a half a dozen years, a little bit longer now, and what we'd like to do is have you introduce yourself, tell us a little bit about your role, and then we want to talk about the very exciting primary focus of GSVlabs called Passport.
Yeah, so thank you so much for having me and highlighting GSVlabs. It's an exciting company to work at. So I am the Director of Strategic Partnerships, and I lead all of our business development with large organizations and enterprises. So I work on that primarily, although we're a lean team. So we have, overall, there's about 30 of us, and spread out around, soon to be around the globe. And so, you know, I wear a few different hats. At any given point in the day, you'll find me working on research or, you know, definitely doing things beyond partnerships. But yeah, excited to talk about Passport.
We're very excited because Passport is relatively new for GSV, but it is growing exponentially, and it really kind of fits into the theme of our show, which is more than the bottom line. So I know you're going to walk us through it on the website, so why don't we start?
Yeah, awesome. So this is Passport, and if I can, maybe a little kind of introduction
Absolutely.
To GSVlabs and why this is kind of where we ended up. So like you said, you know, we've been around 7, almost 8 years now, and here in San Mateo, and we're really happy. We love San Mateo. We have a new building up in, well, San Mateo.
Yeah, right off the 92,
yes.
right? And you started
right
in Redwood City.
We did, yeah. So San Mateo County, now we're in San Mateo City. And so we initially started off as kind of an accelerator, an incubator, you know, kind of come from this family of VC companies, and they really wanted, you know, an arm of the company that could support early stage startups. So at the time, making a lot of late stage tech investments, Spotify, Coursera, Lyft, Lime, you know, exciting, but they really wanted to support companies kind of from that one person stage, from that really early idea, so that when it came time for that investment, those companies were in the best position they could be.
Absolutely.
So we started there, and we started in Redwood City. We had, you know, a few hundred startups each year that we would support. Very, very quickly started to build out an ecosystem. You know, anytime you have a bunch of early stage companies in a room working on interesting technology, everyone outside of that room wants to know what's going on.
There's such an energy.
It's amazing. You know, so we had universities and large companies, organizations knocking on the door saying, hey, can we get an introduction to so-and-so? So we started offering services. Today we offer a lot of services for large businesses, the Fortune 500, work with a ton of universities. And so I say all of that because Passport really does support that entire innovation ecosystem. And about a year and a half ago, maybe 2 years now, we were really fortunate that Nikhil Sinha joined us as our new CEO. And he is, and I know you've had the opportunity to meet him.
Fabulous.
Yeah, he's wonderful. And
Energy. I mean, I call him energy.
Yes, and he had come to us from Coursera. Coursera is the world's largest online learning platform. They're doing amazing stuff, and we were really fortunate when he came over. He said, "Look, I really saw my role at Coursera." He was the chief product officer, chief business development officer. I really saw my role as democratizing education. Taking, these, on Coursera, you can take classes from the best universities in the world.
Absolutely.
Anyone can, right? You sign up, you can audit those classes even for free. So he really wanted to take that idea of democratizing education and put it into innovation. And we really at GSVlabs believe that talent is pretty equally spread around the world. People in Asia, people working in Africa, in Europe, in some of these countries, or even in the United States, in areas that aren't, these economic powerhouses like Silicon Valley, there's a ton of talent and ideas,
yes.
But no one's tapping into it. And no one has the ability, or we hope now we have the ability, but it just wasn't there. We weren't providing them with the tools and the resources they needed to really get themselves off the ground. And with Passport, that's what we're doing. So we took all of everything that we've traditionally offered in-house, these acceleration programs and tools that we have built up over the last, 7-8 years.
Absolutely.
And we are providing it to startups everywhere.
Which is fantastic because you also do so many programs on site that are open to the community that, I mean, we met for the first time when you came and spoke at Connect, which is actually it's a forum that we do with Assembly members Mullen and Berman and Supervisor Slocum. And you spoke and you talked about Passport, and then we had you come to SAMCEDA, and I was so excited. I'm like, we need you on PenTV. We need you on More Than the Bottom Line. Because you really kind of pulled it all together through Passport. I mean, I wanted to sign up.
I hope you have, or I hope you will. It is, so you're right. So we do a ton here in San Mateo, and I definitely want to get back to Passport, but anyone in the community is more than welcome to come to any of our events. Like I said, there is a free version of Passport. Sign up, get access to our resources. If you sign up for Passport, you are automatically going to get our newsletter. You're going to get invitations to some of our public events. At least once a month, we have a public pitch night where startups in a variety of different areas that are breakthrough technology. Some of the next big companies are definitely on our stages, and they get up and they pitch, and there's investors, and it's a really cool way to learn about some of the. We live in Silicon Valley. I work in tech, adjacent to it, and I work in this industry, and even I sometimes feel like I don't have a finger on the pulse. I don't know totally what's going on in every industry, but coming to some of these events is a great way to kind of tap into that, especially for the local community members. Most of our events are totally free.
Well, and I just think that is fantastic, and the whole concept of pitch night, and it really opens up the community for the opportunity to learn about innovation, because you lead in that. And when you talk about your team and the numbers, your office is located off the 92. I mean, how many companies do you have within GSV? And I promise we will get to Passport.
So we're really fortunate at our Silicon Valley Center. I think you actually had a huge hand in helping us move there. Thank you. The views are amazing.
I love it.
It's the best place to have a meeting. So right now we house about 85 startups here in Silicon Valley. And those are teams that range anywhere from 1 person up to about 35 today. And that rotates pretty regularly. What we see happen is, teams come in, they spend a year, maybe 2 years with us, they grow, and then we have to have the conversation of like, hey,
you're taking too much
space.
We need to launch you.
It's time. So there's co-working space, there's always, and actually for community members, all of our meeting rooms, even if you're not a member, you can book. So you can, if you're looking for that one meeting room once a month,
That's great.
It is, yeah, and it's a really cool space. But so we have 85 startups here in Silicon Valley. We have another 50 to 60 at any time in Boston. And later this year, we're really excited. We'll be opening 2 more centers, one in Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh has some cool stuff going on.
I love it.
Yeah, we partnered really closely with Carnegie Mellon and a few of these other just big players in the market, and we're really excited. As well as London, so we'll be opening in London probably Q3.
That is so exciting.
So we're growing.
So should we give a little preview of the Passport, and then we're going to come back to it, but this way we can tease it up for the audience.
Absolutely. So like I said, please get on, make a free account. Passport is a resource that we provide to innovators around the world. And so from anywhere in the world, you can get on. Some of these benefits are under a paid structure. I think the full price is $600 a year. So it's hopefully very affordable for most of our
So $600 a year for $50 a month.
$50 a month.
Basic.
Yeah, and you get access to a lot. So I'll kind of walk through some of these titles. So, you can create a profile. So I have access to booking a room here in San Mateo because I'm a member. And there are some really cool rooms that you can book. You can book our boardroom, which has views of the entire Silicon Valley. Our conference center, so if you ever want to do an event, anyone's able to come in, like I said, and book these. There's also a jobs board, so all of our startups, as you probably know, here in Silicon Valley and some of these other hotspots, talent is tough. It's tough to get, and people move around a lot. So all of our startups share, hey, I met this great person, which is good, and especially for engineers and some of those skills.
Absolutely.
We also have a huge events calendar, so you can see not only our events in Boston, but also virtual events and events that we host on Slack. We host a lot of community hours. We have experts that come in and talk pretty regularly, and our community is able to ask them any questions that they want. So really a great resource. All of that is available for free. So you can see all of that. And in addition to that, you can also see our resources page. And basically, these are resources, knowledge base that we have curated over the last 7-8 years that we use in our accelerator programs. This is not, we are not telling you to go out and read these books because, someone once thought they were interesting. These are things that we legitimately use. And there is a ton of valuable information. Some of it's ours, some of it's curated external articles. But yeah, I highly encourage anyone who's ever even thought about starting their own company or kind of getting into this business, whether it's on the enterprise side or the investor side, to check out some of these resources. Like I said, they're fully free to the community.
This is fantastic. And I mean, when you think about it, and we're going to take a short break,
yes,
and then I want to talk more about the resources and how this is accessible to the community, because we are very, very proud that GSVlabs has been a member of SAMCEDA for a number of years. You have participated in our events. You've been kind of at the forefront. Starship Technology, which was one of your companies, received our Innovator Award. It was very important when you were looking for new space to have you remain in San Mateo County. So we're very glad. I mean, that, Redwood City, you needed additional space and you went to the city of San Mateo. So Keshia, hold that thought. We will be right back to More Than the Bottom Line, where we'll continue our discussion with GSVlabs and Passport. Welcome back to More Than the Bottom Line. I'm Rosanne Foust, your host for today, and with me is Keshia, Director of Strategic Partnerships with GSVlabs. Keshia, before the break, we were going through the Passport offering from GSV. So let's continue, because you were talking about the resources that are free, that are available to the public, that are amazing. So I'm just excited for you to get right into it.
Yeah. So, the resources page, really at any step of a startup, is going to have a lot of added value. So if you're looking for inspiration, if you're really at that initial stage of, is this a good idea? Should I be doing this? I encourage you to get on here, check out some of our resources. I encourage you to get out into the community, chat. We're very fortunate that we live in Silicon Valley, and we have the opportunity to talk to people who do this for a living, right? If I had a new startup idea, I certainly wouldn't start off in stealth mode. I would certainly get out there and talk to investors. What are they really looking for? But we have resources for everything. So, everyone from kind of that early stage founder of, is this a good idea? Should I really do this? To product development, fundraising, which is a huge deal for startups, as we all know, customer acquisition, all the way down to enterprise sales, marketing and PR. And actually, startup pitches is one of my favorite. So you can see we actually have some of the initial pitches of some really big giants. And I know, I won't bore you and scroll through everything, but you can see Coursera's original deck, Uber's original deck, and kind of some of the things that helped them raise as much money. And WeWork is in there too, so you can kind of see they raised a lot of money.
They certainly did. And actually, I wouldn't count them out just quite yet.
So in addition to that, like I said, there is a paid version of this, and a few things do sit behind the paywall. And one of them is our network. And when I said that we took all of the resources we traditionally provided and put them online, we literally did that. And we have all of our mentors are available. You can go in. Alec Wright is actually our CIO at...
Alec is great. I remember meeting him years ago.
Yeah, he's wonderful. And you can, if you're on the platform, you can set up a call. You can set up some time to chat with him. I can instantly book time with him. I have to remind him to cancel this. But I fill out, some basic information. What am I looking for? Why do I want to chat with him? And then I can create an appointment. It sends us both a calendar invite. We both get a Zoom link. It's really easy. And in our mentor network, we have some of the truly, top of their game in financing, in customer acquisition, enterprise sales, really whatever you're looking for, you can find it here.
And mentorship is so important. Can you talk about that? We've had some private conversations about mentors that you have had, how you see it kind of playing out through a young professional's life at every stage of your career. I mean, I find having mentors.
Yeah.
And I've been working for 30 years, but for me, it is huge. So talk a little bit about mentors.
It is huge. So, from a startup perspective, if you have a new company, the reality is that you're not going to be an expert in all components of a business, right? That would be very impressive.
But not real.
Come work for me. But yeah, not realistic. So, even if you are, and we're seeing this more and more, where a lot of the startups that we're working with, they are true technical experts, whether that's in, healthcare or even hardware. But they don't have all the business expertise they need, whether that's legal, whether that's customer acquisition. Sometimes, hey, I want to start a digital health company and I want to work on electronic record management. That's a big deal right now. We're seeing a lot of really cool companies in that space. They're integrating AI, they're integrating machine learning. That's great, but you're going to need a doctor on your team. You're going to need someone who's an expert in customer acquisition. You're going to need all of those influences. And having a mentor, what we often find is our mentors, not always, but often end up getting much more involved than just a monthly or weekly call. They end up really becoming advisors, getting on the board, becoming really invested in some of these companies. And that is truly the step to success.
And you've done this kind of unique ecosystem at GSV because you understand the different stages. So, and you said when Mikhail became a part of GSV and he said, how do we democratize, in thinking about it? How do we democratize innovation? Yeah. I just love that statement. So talk some more about that, because this platform does that.
It does. So like I said, we really, one of the things that we say a lot, that we talk about a lot, is that talent is really equally distributed. A lot of great startup ideas are not necessarily coming from, or just from universities, or some of these. Stanford produces some great startups, don't get me wrong. But so does the factory worker that's been doing the same job for 30 years and understands that this machine can be better, and this is how we do it.
I love it.
In the past, with maybe the exception of some internal, so maybe at a big company, you could move up internally and take that idea somewhere. But where do those people go? Who do they talk to? I mean, they don't have access to our network. They're not going to call up Andreessen Horowitz and say, hey, I have this new idea. What do you think? And this is a way to give people access. It's a really low cost, to entry. And it's a way to give them access to the resources that they need. And you know what, at the end of the day, maybe you join for 6 months and you decide, actually, I looked into it and this is not a great idea. That's still really valuable. And it's actually really valuable to the community.
Well, it's valuable, it's cost effective. You haven't invested like immense amount of capital or savings in it, and you can figure it out.
Yeah.
What are some of the other things you'd love to highlight on?
Yeah, so this is probably the biggest, it's definitely what excites our startups the most, initially at least. I don't know if it's why all of them stay, but I think it is why a lot of our startups initially join the platform, is what we call perks. So basically what we've done is, we've been working with service providers for a long time, trying to negotiate for our startups and get the best prices, making sure, on the other side of that, really making sure that our startups know, hey, we do a ton of work in this space and we think that these are the best 3 providers. We think that there's a lot
vetted.
You've
done a lot of vetting.
Services, right? Like, for example, if you're looking at marketing, there are countless marketing services that you can use. And we're able to say, hey, not only do we find this, but today we launched Passport about a year ago, January 2018, and we're able to say, like, today there's 7,500 startups on our platform.
Wow.
And most of them really like the service. And here's what they have to say about it. So some of our services include, here, Amazon Web Services. So AWS Cloud Credits are a huge expense for most of our startups. You can get $100,000 in your first year just for being on the platform, just for being one of our startups. There are a few small catches. You can't have used it before. But for the most part, every startup that we're working with uses some of these or a lot of these. And it's not just product development. It's fundraising.
And fundraising is such, when somebody has a good idea, when they want to see it take it to the next step. I mean, fundraising and that access to capital is huge. I mean, that's what we hear.
Yeah.
And so having this on there, wow.
It's a big deal, especially, again, if you're not living here or in Boston, if you're in the Midwest or, where I grew up. I mean, I grew up just outside of Cincinnati, kind of in the tri-state between Kentucky and Indiana, and I didn't know anything like this existed. I didn't know what a startup was. I didn't have access to tech. I wasn't reading about AI on a daily basis. But I think even for universities, like I said, we do a lot of work with college students, with startups, and I think even for them, understanding that these things exist is huge.
Absolutely. And having this, I mean, you have 7,500 folks, startups on the platform.
Yeah.
That is in 1 year's time.
That is in 1 year. Yeah.
And do you see this growth just continuing?
Yeah. So today we have on average, about 50 startups join daily. We also have, kind of going back to, I'm going to transition back to our network for a second. So not only do we have a ton of perks, but we also have VC Connect. And basically what we've done is we've created the world's largest investor forum. So we have everyone from individual angel investors who kind of dip their toe in investing, all the way up to the big guys, right? You can see 500 startups, Social Capital, Sequoia. All of them are on the platform. What the startups do is they can get started. They create a profile for their company. It's quite in depth. And we share that on a rolling basis with all of these investors. And, for being on the platform, it does sit behind the paywall, so you do have to be a paying member. But being on the platform, you're able to get your company information in front of investors who might otherwise never see you.
And again, I saw
from anywhere.
450 different potential investors.
That's right.
And to get your company in front of them for, again, a very modest fee and in advance on all the free part of the platform for our community, they can figure out, is this a good idea? Is this something? Because that is the beauty of where we live. innovation and ideas.
Yes.
And I think as our segment is coming to a close, what are kind of the key takeaways that you would love the audience to remember?
Yes.
One, go on to Passport.
Go on to Passport, create a free account. With the free account, you're also going to get some newsletters from us. You're also going to get invitations to events. And like I said, we have a ton of events. We have at least probably 4 or 5 a month. Most of those are totally free to the public. Come grab a drink, learn about whatever the topic is for the night. Also, we're not selling tickets just yet, but you can kind of pre-register on our website, get on our newsletter. We are hosting, we used to do an annual Pioneer Summit.
That's right.
Yeah, and we took the last year off. We were going through a big transition. Obviously, there was a lot to do.
There was a lot going on.
Yeah, but we're starting it up again. So September 9th and 10th, at our headquarters in San Mateo. We're going to be hosting over 1,000 government officials, investors, entrepreneurs, startups from around the world.
That is so exciting.
Yeah.
I mean, to have GSVlabs in our community, and Keshia, as Director of Strategic Partnerships, I mean, you have been so gracious. I've asked you to participate from the initial Connect conference, then to the SAMCEDA. I just mentioned to you I have another event in February, having you come on More Than the Bottom Line. Thank you. And
thank you.
I mean, thank you for your support of our community, for really effectuating More Than the Bottom Line. And again, we really appreciate all that GSVlabs is doing. Thank you for watching, and we'll be right back to More Than the Bottom Line. Guess the Company segment of our show. Our company has served 12.2 million members. They are listed as one of Glassdoor's 2019 best places to work based on employee feedback. This company was founded in 1945. Today they have 39 hospitals, 694 medical offices, 23,000 plus physicians, 59,000 nurses, 217,000 employees. 30 of their hospitals are rated high performing by a highly respected rating organization, and they've won awards for excellence in medication safety and appropriate use recently. Today's company is Kaiser Permanente. Thank you for joining us on today's edition of More Than the Bottom Line. We look forward to seeing you the next time.
This program is brought to you by SAMCEDA, the San Mateo County Economic Development Association.